Charlie Kirk murder update. The news is out now. The shooter was a MAGA. Chris Graham here, Augusta Free Press. So Donald Trump on Thursday, speaking about the murder of the MAGA provocateur Charlie Kirk, blamed the shooting on, quote, radical left lunatics. And then Trump added ominously, quote, we have to beat the hell out of them. Not surprisingly, on Friday, we're learning that the suspect in custody is a 22-year-old MAGA. And nothing from Trump at this point, retracting his call to his supporters to, quote, beat the hell out of innocent people on the left who had nothing to do with the murder of Charlie Kirk, which was an inside job, MAGA on MAGA violence. You're not surprised to learn any of this, no doubt, once it was reported that the shooting was perpetrated by a white guy with a high-powered rifle from a rooftop 200 yards away. I mean, seriously, come on. We knew what was going on as soon as we heard all of that. Okay, here's what we know. The shooter's name, Tyler Robinson. What we know about this Tyler Robinson, he was a good student from a good Mormon family who scored high on the ACT, from what I read, 34 out of 36. I live on the east of the east side of the Mississippi. We use the SATs here. I understand, not knowing much about the ACT, that a 34 out of 36 is pretty much 1,500 on the SATs. It's like top 1%. Then the kid dropped out of college after a semester. Not sure what was going on there. I think there's probably something to do with his transition from high school to college was during that COVID stretch, where we were all impacted by things a lot, but kids particularly. More on the Tyler Robinson kid, it appears from online postings that he was a groiper. Groypers are part of a white nationalist movement led by another far-right provocateur, a guy named Nick Fuentes, who regularly picked fights with Charlie Kirk. Fuentes urged his followers to out Kirk as a, quote, fake conservative. It was called the Groyper War. Um, Most recently, Fuentes raised issue with Kirk over Kirk's insistence that the Trump administration should release the Epstein files. So if you call something a war, I mean, that says a lot, right? So, and in fact, there was something called Groyper War 2. I'm learning all this myself here the last couple of days. Uh, of course, this Fuentes guy is now distancing himself from having engaged in a MAGA civil war with Charlie Kirk, as is another far-right nut job, Laura Loomer, who has been busy in the last few hours deleting tweets that she had posted recently in which she had criticized Kirk as a, quote, charlatan, quote, political opportunist who engaged in, quote, mental gymnastics and, quote, stabs Trump in the back, and then wrote that, quote, she didn't ever want to hear from Charlie Kirk, claiming that he is a pro-Trumper ever again. So that's what you got there. You got MAGA on MAGA rhetoric and then some violence resulting. More on Tyler Robinson. The messages etched on the bullets that we were told yesterday by the Wall Street Journal were pro-trans, or in fact, um, from a video game known for its satirical use of fascist imagery, which the terminally online are known to have co-opted to be able to, in essence, hide in plain view. These groypers talk with sarcasm to each other using these supposedly fascist messages to relate how they play this video game. I'm not a video gamer, so I'm not going to claim to to know much or anything about that sector. My last video game experience, this really dates back to the Super Nintendo in the 90s, and I played sports games, so I'm just not in this culture at all. Okay, still more on Tyler Robinson. The parents are registered Republicans. The father, a guy named Matt Robinson, who has been seen in an online photo wearing a T-shirt repping the far right three percenter movement. When I say far right, I'm not saying as forcefully as it could be said about these three percenters, how far right they are. His mother, Matt Robinson's mother, the grandmother of Tyler Robinson, a lady named Debbie Robinson, told a news outlet that the father is a, quote, Republican for Trump. So there you go. The good Mormon family, the kid's a groyper, the dad's a three percenter. They're all Trumpers. And here's the last little bit: the family turned him in. And this is the quote from the Utah governor Spencer Cox, himself a MAGA Republican. And I don't know that he even knew what he was saying when he said this, but let's just first relate what he said and then break down. According to Spencer Cox, investigators interviewed a family member of Robinson who stated that Robinson had become more political in recent years. Okay, so there we start. More from the Cox quote. The quote, the family member referenced a recent incident in which Robinson came to dinner prior to September 10th, which is the day of the shooting. And in the conversation with another family member, Robinson mentioned that Charlie Kirk was coming to UVU, Utah Valley University. They talked about why they didn't like him and the viewpoints that he had. The family member also stated that Kirk was full of hate and was spreading hate. Okay, so let's break down the way that Spencer Cox relates this story. The way he relates it, it wasn't just the kid who had issues with Charlie Kirk. They, plural pronoun there, talked about why they, again plural, didn't like Kirk. The family members at dinner talked about why they didn't like Kirk and his viewpoints. And the family member, quote, the family member who told us to the police, who notably would not have been Tyler Robinson himself, quote, also stated that Kirk was full of hate and spreading hate. Folks on the far right should have a hard time turning a family with a three percenter Republican for Trump dad that talked openly at the dinner table about how they didn't like Charlie Kirk and thought he was full of hate into radical left lunatics. They weren't radical left lunatics. They were MAGAs. They didn't like Charlie Kirk, and the kid sided with Nick Fuentes and Laura Loomer against Charlie Kirk, and he took a gun to a rally and tried to shoot Charlie Kirk's head off. That's not the far left. That's not radical left lunatics. That's a radical right MAGA lunatic. It was MAGA on MAGA violence. And in case your MAGA mother-in-law repeats to you that, well, gosh, all those Democrats out there, there's blood on their hands, because that's what Fox News tells her, you now know the truth.